I think it's cool, right? Because in a way, okay, you guys have a disclosure. This meeting's now streaming live on YouTube. So if you don't want to be on the live stream right now, it would be a good time to exit the call. I think it's cool, right? Because in a way, okay, you guys have a disclosure. Oh. This meeting's now streaming live on YouTube. So I see myself. If you don't want to be on the live stream right now, it would be a good time to. That's all right. I'm gonna mute that. That's a distraction. All right. So
I was like, wow, it's deja vu.
Yeah, I'm like, what's happening here? Because I have my second screen here on the right is like playing me back.
I could have swore I heard this already.
With a lag. So Juan Carlo, thanks for jumping on the call. I know that you've been working with me pretty proactively on the AR stuff as of late. Paul Bronstein with XR Miami joined the call too. So thanks, Paul, for joining the call. Paul's much more privy to the details of the big vision and the idea of this campaign for Save Miami. That I've been working on with him and some of our friends at MetaClaims as well over in Mexico, with Sergio and Luke Ray and his team. And now we have what I think some important artists that are going to be coming on from the community angle, from the public angle. But we need to first, get their buy-in and get their approval. So I'm setting up and I'm asking to hold myself accountable to our stakeholders, our partners in this project, to understand how we can, increase our chances of success. So we bought the savemiami.org domain name. Luke Ray has been asking me to finish the copy, so I have to really go into, in fact, let me pull up some of my notes and finish the copy on some of that and aggregate some of the different texts and messages and emails and documents I've set up in different places and aggregate them together to try to get all of it on a landing page and with a 101 and a frequently asked questions, etc. on what is this about? Who are you? What are you doing? What is this for? Why are you doing it? And so on and so forth. So that's kind of the quick update. It's taken about took a year to set up the foundation, and then it's taken about another year to set up to have the nonprofit, and then now this another year to set up to get like the NFT campaign, artists, technology, exhibits, experience, auctions, like all this stuff done this year from last Art Basel with the Coral Drop NFT that we did with Open Earth Foundation for the Ocean Drop collection in Wynwood, and the hologram that we did, et cetera, to do this 1-for-1 natural capital nature-based project where we were connecting and proving digital NFTs as twins, nature-based twins of natural capital assets, in this case, corals. So for every one coral you buy, coral NFT you buy, say Greg Taffet is out planting a coral, right? And now it's like, okay, we have this global climate accounting. So yes, okay, now that we have a 1-for-1, it's still a donation model. It goes to the 501c3. Thank you so much. Here's your donation. Here's the 501c3, but you get to keep the NFT and continue to become as now a stakeholder that determines what we do with the treasury and what we're doing with, what can we do to improve now one more person, right, to hold ourselves accountable to, that cares and has skin in the game and cares about this topic, whatever the topic is. Corals, mangroves, SDG 14, gender equality, saving Miami, saving Biscayne Bay, etc. Right? So this particular campaign now is the idea playing off of that to say, okay, how do we raise awareness, not just of NFTs and the value of going digital, but really of finally creating a smart city for Miami, a smart bay for Miami, a city that has sensors and data all around, that's available for all the residents, all the universities, all the tourists and visitors to be able to access and to interact with and to live with and to be able to make better decisions every day. Hence, smart city, to make smarter decisions. Now, finally, right, that at a very high level, from 5, 6 years ago, with the Florida Blockchain Foundation, Government Blockchain Association, the public-private partnership that was proposed with the Miami-Dade Beacon Council and all the different stakeholder engagements, it's very high level. But how do you help the community, truly the community at a very grassroots level, be onboarded, be involved, be aware, be engaged, and profit from all the things that are about to happen, and continue to happen, and that they can invest in because they want to see things happen in some particular fashion. And so that's what this is about, right? And as somebody that's from Miami, born and raised in Miami, right? Grew up in Wynwood, went to middle school in Wynwood, and experienced it, and came back and sort of saw this whole transformation. I remember that Wynwood was famous and started blooming because of the art walk that they would do. I think it was the last Saturday, second Saturday or something like this, or no, it was a Thursday and Friday or whatever, repeat occurrence that would happen, for a couple of years. And a lot of the old galleries, right? Glenwood is the garment district. A lot of people don't remember that it was the original garment district in Miami, and that's where you have all the warehouses and all this stuff that exists in terms of the infrastructure there. And because of that, you have the galleries go and the artists go and set shop up there. And then you had this on Second Avenue, where Panther Avenue and all these spaces are. You had these different art galleries. So people would go from art gallery to art gallery, sipping champagne and looking at the art and learning about the art, meeting the art gallery, talking about the artists and buying and investing in the art. And that's really where things start to blossom. And Art Basel moves to Miami because UBS, the Swiss bank, was trying to meet with people and help them do offshore financial banking, right? With Miami as a capital of capital, which has become now, and a lot of people doing international banking. So people would come to Art Basel and then they would pull out their laptops. And so this expose happened like 5 years ago. Anyway, so it's taken a lot to get all these things to this point. So finally, with all the boom of NFTs and Art Basel taking over, Wynwood is now a thriving place, but we have no more art walk. And so bringing back the spirit of Miami, I think, is the intention here, in a way that puts on Miamians and help us solve for problems that we face in Miami. And that's what this is about. So we're partnered with the Spirit of Miami, Miami Club Rum and the Miami Distilling Company, to host kickoff events and memberships for NFT holders and others that want to get involved, make special bottles and collections every month that ask artists, and artists that do get received and welcome are then able to have their art, as part of a special edition bottle for the Miami members. And the first a group of artists and stakeholders that are meant to be supported are the NGOs that have been solving for the sustainable development goals in Miami-Dade County, and the artists that have been in Miami-Dade County, right? And to then raise awareness and connect and then put on those NGOs and those artists and help fund them, so that we don't break the fabric of Miami and break Miami along the way. And so this is, I think, really critical. And I think that it's it's one of the most critical, most important junctions that we're facing in history, with everything that's been happening in Miami and around the world. And now Miami's point and location around the world, both geographically speaking, geopolitically speaking, and as the capital of capital, as well as cultural. So we have this blueprint, and I'm just about to wrap up here. And then sort of open the floor and show a couple of updates on the NFT landing page and website and then maybe Juan Carlo, if you want to start opening up the AR Miami examples of the images displayed across the city look like, so we can do a quick visual on that. And then I think maybe check in with Paul and Luis and Maria and see if you guys have any other thoughts or comments or questions to sort of kick off this FAQ. I want to present this to the, this is already going live. So we want to present this to other people to come and check out and know what this project is about. And hopefully this open forum can help answer a lot of basic questions about who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, the intention behind it, and how things are going to work, right? So the first thing we need to do is this call to action for artists. We want to work with Miami artists, work with Miami NGOs, and then start solving and working in partnership for the Sustainable Development Goals. A couple of the things that we've been working on for several years and that I think are critical right now, especially with policy that's happening in the county and with the hurricanes that have passed by recently, we have critical infrastructure that we have to think about, and like super urgent security to think about in terms of how we can use this momentum of people onboard this platform to bring awareness in a really cool, sexy, delicious, exciting, playful, gamified way that lets us walk through the city, observe the art of local artists, and raise awareness around different sustainable development goals of the United Nations and why people should care and how they can get involved, and sort of serve as a portal for people to jump in to things that they care about and work with artists that they care about and learn more about Miami, the community, as well as the sort of global goals as a whole. And then we can replicate this, I think, in other cities and offer that up as a blueprint. The NFTs, I think, are one of the first collections we want to do, and the idea is to migrate towards for-profit NFT collections. So whoever gets involved at this stage of the nonprofit art research and development part, we're partnering with the institutions, we're doing the first few drops, we're bringing the technology and integrating the things, we'll get access to and a discount. I don't know, I have to figure out what I can or I can't say. So, this is live. So we got to be careful in terms of securities laws and public disclosures or whatever. But the idea, I think, of how we can use these NFTs for crowdfunding, right? You going through a Reg CF or Reg A plus type idea to actually make them a crowdfunding campaign, and then go beyond philanthropy and into investment. And now that we have the models because of the philanthropic stage and figuring out, okay, this is how this becomes profitable, and how we prove climate accounting, and how we build legal precedent, for being able to make private investments in the public commons. And this point, I think, is really worth emphasizing, right? Through this process, the idea is to set legal precedent on how we can have private investors like invest in something like a coral, and then invest that in the public commons, and be able to then act us as a collective, whether it's a legal trust or some kind of other structure that makes the most sense to be effective with insurance policies, be able to protect that private investment in the public commons, i.e. in the Everglades, in the Biscayne Bay, along different areas of the beach that belong to the public, in the Miami River, right? The different watersheds in Okeechobee, right? Whatever, right? What the case may be, right? In parks, right? These public common places, right? And so the idea is not to ostracize government or anything, but to say, okay, well, here's maybe a more effective and efficient way for us to have an incentive to protect and enhance and regenerate the public commons in a way that's profitable and that everybody wins. So instead of just lowering the ceiling, we're raising the floor. And we literally have to do that in Miami because, well, climate change, whether people think about it or not, we are just getting more and more hit by higher levels of flooding and more hurricanes that are harder and stronger all the time. So we need to invest, not billions of dollars in a seawall like the Army Corps of Engineers are suggesting, but provide community-driven solutions to these nature-based solutions, like putting a coral wall, restoring the coral, by the way, that the Army Corps of Engineers suggested. We put cement and concrete and stuff in South Beach, which is now we have to port a bunch of sand into the Florida. We spend more than $800 million just in sand every 10 years, right? Importing sand, to think about it, whatever. I don't want to digress. In any case, we're solving, right, with these investments. I think in the case of corals, every dollar we invest, we're able to connect, and this is part of the exercise. How do we show that every dollar invested produces $15 in economic value, right? Direct and indirect value, to lower property costs, to lower insurance because of the insurance that's being lowered, because it actually destroys things less, lower flooding, etc. Like these, like corals are able to provide our first line of defense. Just in the case of storms and hurricanes, 98% buffer against aggression. So anyways, that's like these things is how this campaign's meant to use and bring awareness to these idiosyncratic things through edutainment, right? And fund an edutainment campaign where kids can run around. We use augmented reality. You can run around Miami-Dade. You can visualize maps across the city and see them and see the art and know where to go to the next place and learn about the history in the next place and win awards and be rewarded for doing the right thing, for picking up the trash, for being able to, engage and learn about the kind of trees and the cultures, and you might be able to be involved in a tree mapping exercise or whatever that contributes to a particular SDG goal, and now you earn those tokens just because you played the game, right? So that's how we sort of see this continuing to evolve beyond just philanthropic stage of R&D into investment vehicles that help create policy and proof of the things that create regeneration. And then there's an economic value and gain for everybody as a result of it, directly and indirectly. So that's the idea. And I think that the best way to get that done is through using art and culture and local artists to spread the word to local residents, and local artists to spread the word to international folks. So that's the quick version, but I think the more complete part of what we're trying to do here. So I'll take a pause there. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to just chime in. Juan, if you want to do a share screen or anything like that, or anybody else wants to dive in. And Doug, I know that you and I were going to have some of this time together, as well as Juan Carlo. So feel free to just chime in with your thoughts, because we're seeing if now we can compile a lot of these things together quick enough to at least do some kind of unveiling or announcement during Art Basel on what's going to happen every month, right, from here throughout the next year around the SDGs.
I can take the augmented reality part really quick.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
So if you go to, I don't have a video to show here because it's easier if you just go to the website. So if you go to armiami.io, armiami.io, and there's a video there at the bottom of the page. And you can just click on that. And
all right, I'm sharing my screen. Do you guys see this?
the reality platform called Air Miami.
All right.
It's objects anywhere in the city using GPS positions. The app is already in the App Store. You can download it, Air Miami. There also is both for iOS and Android. And the biggest, right here, you're seeing the sort of the store portion of it. So here you have bubbles over the stores. And then you can click on those bubbles and it tells you information about that store. So this is everything is in layers. So that would be the sort of commerce layer, but there's also the art layer. And right now I have a bunch of digital art all over Wynwood, particularly in the parking lot next to Panther Coffee, the big parking lot back there where they usually do open markets and things. So there's regular art, and then there's also 3D art back there. So you just have to walk back there and you start seeing it. One of the biggest focuses of Air Miami has been art. And I've already have a series of NFT artists who I'm working with, who I'm placing their art in different places. And what I can do is you can literally see the piece, and then there'll be a button next to it that says, click here to open the NFT. And then as soon as you click on it, then it opens the NFT page, and then you can, transact with it. So that functionality already exists in the app. Also, what I'm doing is in the next release that I'm about to do in about 2 weeks, we're hiding gifts around the city. We're hiding surprises. And as you walk around, as you approach this particular item, it tells you, oh, let's say you are within 500 feet, it starts telling you you're near a gift or you're near a surprise. And as you get closer to it, the distance tells you, starts showing you how, the distance decreasing. Once you get to an arbitrary distance, then you know, there's a big a big version that appears in the sky, and then you can, you know, kind of redeem the thing. So it's sort of like a Pokemon Go kind of experience, but it's basically an example of gamification. So the other point that Sylvie touched on was gamification, and that's already a functionality that I'm working on and that I'm implementing for the next release. And I'm also working with real-time data. And right now, I just finished the project with my friend Jared for the city. And yeah, and we are, okay, so here in this example, as you can see, there's a button right there. It says AR, and you can click on that and open up a web page, say, and then if you see to the right there, you see a butterfly flying way off in the distance. See, it's carrying a sign. So it's almost like, how do we replace those airplanes on the beach? Well, we just replace them with metaverse airplanes. You know, so yeah, yeah. So basically, it's a platform that I have there already. Oh, and the last point that I was going to make is that right now I'm working also with a friend of mine for the city, and we created a scavenger hunt for them to find these CO2 bottles, these CO2 canisters. We placed them in different parts of the city, and as you got close to it, it popped open, and basically it showed a video of one of this campaign that we're working on. So yeah, so there's a lot of functionality that we can play with and implement ideas, and but yeah, the thrust of it is art, as Sylvia was saying, and I think placing a digital layer of art over Winwood, I think it's really cool. It expands on the idea of art in Winwood, and it just takes it into the metaverse. So it's a great sort of marketing tool, and has a big wow factor. That's it, Sylvia.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me see. I might be able to share the other thing I wanted to share. Share content. Only host and share content. Okay. All right. So yeah, I guess now the roadmap, looking at the roadmap, looking at some of our notes, basically the next step, what do the next steps look like, right? For us to do a call to the artist, partner up with and get mentorship with a couple of lead artists. My thought was talking to Rafa, Miami. Have you guys, there's this art recycling store called Rafa, and they've been doing something very cool every month, right? Where they will get together and do a cycling tour with a different Miami graffiti artist. So Miami artist. Here we go. And so the idea is that we can partner with Rafa and then go cycling throughout different places of Miami, just like Ahol's doing. Ahol Snivsku's the artist in residence for FIU right now, and folks like so this is him. So, and this is the Miami-Dade County's artist in residence is a guy called Javier Cortada. So you want to be able to work also with Javier Cortada. Javier Cortada's work is already very much aligned with the goals of some of the NFT drops we want to do. I think they would probably be, here, where's his website? Cortada.org. And it's around these things like here we go, Javier Cortada. So his work is very much focused around the environment, and this is like one example of how he's been able to support different awareness campaigns by having things like voter mobilization, by creating this art piece. And you see those numbers that are on the art. Each one of those represents the number in itself represents how far above sea level the residents live. So yeah, anyway, that's one. There's a lot of public art and public art installations that he's done that are focused on climate. So it's really exciting to work with people like Javier Cortada. I know that he's in Miami. He works also in the university. He went to law school in Miami, and I think he's still involved in University of Miami. And yeah, it's all about climate art. He's done a couple of collections where they raise awareness on mangroves. So we want to do art that supports work focused on climate accounting, right? And the kind of climate accounting that exists with open source information. Like, let me see if I can find this for you. Do a quick screen share here. So that's his art and some of the projects. And I think this is one more that he can help support. He suggested that we connect with the Miami-Dade County Board of Arts and Cultural Affairs Board to get them on board. And then there's a couple of other sort of art groups here that can also probably help, right? And support with their own artists. And then we're thinking of how can we work with other digital artists like Juan Carlo and augment that art sometimes from traditional artists and help augment them further and make them super cool. So anyway, that's the nitty-gritty on that. Let me see if I can reclaim host here and do a screen share of the video that we did with as a screen share content. Yeah, it's working. Share screen. This is it right here. So this is, for example, using, these different spots could be the different art pieces, and we could swap out the different art pieces every month. They don't have to just block out, they don't just block out the ocean view, but this could be a cool way to be like running on the beach and see what's around there, or like going on a hunt and playing a game. And then as you see this 100% decrease in carbon credit demand is projected, right? On like one particular topic. So people are going to be like, well, what are carbon credits? What is this information? That's the idea with using art and entertainment and creating edutainment. That's a pretty just boring graph, like pretty plain graph about our work, carbon accounting and connecting carbon counting to a financial system and connecting the two. Sustainable cities is like part of that project to create sustainable cities. So that's an example, right? And then over there, further in the end, there's a QR. If you can see that there's a QR code, and so you would walk up to there, and ideally you can see a QR code. So we're testing that. That's one of the NFTs for the Blue Economy members from last year, and yeah, there's a QR code there. So that was a little bit of the idea there with how we can mix in the art and education. So all right, I just switched off back over here to my computer. Cool. I'll take a pause. Hey Luis, thanks for coming. I see we got a couple of other folks on the line. You guys have any thoughts, comments, questions? Luis, you want to mention anything? Oh, hey, there you go. What's up, Paul?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Great.
What's up, Paul? Awesome. Yeah, really good stuff. We have our own metaverse that we can have some of the artwork up there on the metaverse. and we're calling it the XR Lounge. Maybe I could show you guys, if you allow me to share my screen, how it looks. But if you're familiar with our last Art Basel event, we've had an event called Art Tech Miami for the last 4 years, and we always do what we call mixed reality events, where we have an art gallery in the real world that we connect to the metaverse, and then we allow people to shop for NFTs using that interface. So we will be really happy to collaborate with what you guys have with AR Miami to connect it to our metaverse art gallery that's going to be available all of Art Basel. And it's all you have to do is simply go into xrmiami.io and you'll be there. And we'll have a lot of the cool artwork that you'll see within other experiences around Art Basel.
That's awesome, Paul. I'm sure that Juan would love that as well. Could you do a screen share? Can you request a screen share?
Yeah, I tried and it says I can't, but let me see. This only host can share in this meeting.
Is there a website or a link? Do you want to send me a link, or let me see or let me see how I can change the meeting settings while you.
Just click on share screen on the bottom, and then they should give you an option to be used for this to share screen.
Well, it says only the host can share the screen, but
No, I'm referring to Silvio. Silvio has to give the option on his sharing screen so others can share.
No, I clicked it in the advanced settings, nothing comes up. So maybe we'll, if you want to have a link, Paul, or tell me if you want me to navigate somewhere really quick.
Yeah, I sent you the link.
Okay, let's see. Oh, your website. Okay, yeah.
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 Yeah, if you copy and paste it, or maybe let me send it to you as a complete URL form.
I got it. XR Miami.
Got it? Okay.
You got a shout out to xrmiami.io, baby. Come on. You got to say it out loud, baby. Yeah, you got to plug free plug. Yeah, free plug to be, like what? All right.
Who
So
love those?
yeah, man. Kidding me? That's what this is about. We're putting
Yeah.
on. And you're one of them. You're one of these Miami artists, as is Juan Carlo. All right. So this is the metaverse. Start now. This is the metaverse. This is the XR Lounge.
Yes, I don't believe I can see your
We
share
can't
screen.
see your screen.
Oh, cool.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can see your screen.
So yeah, that's what we're calling the XR Lounge. It's in beta form, so there might be some glitches, but if you look around with your mouse and move around with your W key to move forward or back, you see we're still decorating it and adding artists. So we're gonna definitely have a section for Save Miami where you can see all the art there.
Awesome. Cool, Paul.
Thanks. And anything you want to add for the AR, it could be through here too, Juan, if you guys want. And this is just a preview, so we still got to work on it.
This is nice, man. I like it.
And I just want to say, Paul, this is Doug. I performed in Art Tech 2021, I believe, 2020.
Yeah, I remember, brother. Yeah, it was great.
It's actually on YouTube right now. You still have it on YouTube, so it's pretty cool. It's really dope what you're doing.
Hey, Paul,
thanks, man.
Can we make this?
Right now, there's no what is it called? In development, there's no
let's make this Miami right under
physical barrier, so you can walk on and see the map. But when the event happens, we normally put those back.
We should put Miami.
How the map looks from the outside, it's a Unity built venue, so we have more to put into the world. And if you want to see your avatar, you can press F and it'll switch to third person mode. You can pick another avatar by clicking avatars if you want a more humanoid character. Let's see if it works. I think he already switched. Press F key again. There we go. You're Harley Quinn.
Hey, look, Maria. All right. Cool.
So yeah, guys, we'll have this up and running during Art Basel, we'll be definitely happy to share all this artwork or some of it to help out with the Save Miami cause.
That's awesome. That's epic. So here we got, great job, Paul. Congratulations.
Thank you. You too.
Here's the website so far we've got. I know that Liquor has been hounding me to make sure that I get the right language up. Critical error on his website. Never mind. That's not good. Let's see if that works out. Okay. So let me show you something that's not that actually works. Okay, so here's the drop page so far for the
I
NFT.
would suggest it's still loading because you just loaded a bunch of other stuff, so it's still bandwidth. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Maybe. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, I think it's just a WordPress error update. Something has to be checked.
All right. Yeah. Good. So here's where we're at so far. And yeah, we'll be able to upload the art here. You can click it. I think that one of the advices that I was chatting with, and now I'm just thinking about sort of concerns and things we got to be aware of, is that, you know, if we want to do an auction, what are the auction mechanisms we might want to use? If we do an auction, do we want to do one auction a day? Is that too much? Do you want to have multiple artists and then, you know, basically just have like a couple famous artists that also contribute and like maybe set a minimum? I don't have any art auction experience. I don't know if anybody else does, or we can find somebody that does, because I feel like we need experts around that. And then how do we drum up interest so we can continue doing it with a rhythm every month, right? And to get this stuff done. So that's an open sort of question for me that I feel like we're gonna need to just try this and figure it out. But at the same time, if we have anybody that's really knowledgeable on it, that'd be really great to connect with them and think about ways of contributing, right, and getting involved. So and helping us with that part of it. Yeah, but the idea is, I think, you know, I don't want to have to use crypto to buy some of this. I think it should be like you can swipe and use your credit card or something like that. Very simple in terms of the payment system. So we're still very open and interested in making sure we have a smooth payment system. We're interested in talking to Miami-Dade County Parks and Recreation and Bayside and a couple of other government organizations, including the Department of Transportation, to try to get special permission from them to do this type of installation art, right? And even though it's not going to physically touch anything, it'll still live there in this open metaverse. And think about ways that, for example, the local government wants to incentivize more transportation, right? So if you think about the transportation plan, right, putting places that when you get to, let's say you're in downtown and you're on the Metro Mover, right, you know that you know in which direction the different museums are, or where the different restaurants might be, depending on the type of food that you like, right? So you might want to have an integration like that. You can navigate Miami with this kind of AR feel. I think that's kind of the direction that we're also going to go to. And then, you can cross the AR barrier and then go into the metaverse at some point. And sort of, we can think of an easier integration between those two things with things like, because like some of the goals that Paul has had and that we want to use once we gamify and onboard everybody is ways to engage everybody to collect information about the environment, right? About the environment, not like just like environment, but like the built environment, buildings, structures, and things like this. So then, we start to build a digital twin of Miami with everybody's help. And think about ways of that, those people that do contribute should be able to perpetually be rewarded based on anything that can be monetized for that based on their contribution. So that's where maybe tokenomics can come in, and we can think about these things to incentivize people to get involved. And that's what we're seeking to get done. And hopefully you guys can help me figure that out. People like I mentioned, David Aho Snitsku, is like, man, my main thing is right now with people being with what happened in the crypto market and FTX, a lot of people might like be in fear of like what's happening. Buying art, is very much his advice is that you have to be at the right place at the right time. Right. So it's like you need to be able to, you have to have a way to transact immediately on the spot, wherever we are. If we are in, Paul's metaverse lounge, or if we're on our Basel with Bit, at the Bit Basel, and somebody's like, oh, I like that. Like, how quickly can you remove the friction and just get that done, right? Get that transaction done. I think that's pretty important to get that done. So he mentioned that. Then I think that's an important point. There's also who's the audience of buyers or donors, right? Who do we want to who's the right, maybe not all NFT buyers are the kind of artists that care. Is it other folks, right? Who are those other folks? Is it people that are visiting? Are the tourists that want to contribute somehow because they enjoyed the time in Miami and maybe on their way out of the airport, they're like, hey, this is how I can give back? Or is it individuals that maybe just want to go to the park and want to see the art, and maybe we can buy $100 art piece, right? So that's some idea of maybe things that we can do, right? How do we make them really affordable, or how do we have some affordable art, right? Then you have other high tier artists like Aho Snitsku, which is the one that had been having this. He's giving me these suggestions and this feedback, and he's like, yeah, man, that's really important. Sometimes he's like, I make art. When I'm going to do an NFT drop or an exhibit. Yeah, I know what the appetite is or who's trying to buy what. So you got to really study and hone into how you release the art, what kind of the art is. Some of these art pieces could go for 30K, 40, 50K, 60K or more, right? But then you have people that when they participate and they go around, his game is he tags up Miami, and he tags up trash, and he turns trash into cash by turning it into art. So I love his concept. And he did one of these bike rides with the Rafa Miami people, and as part of because they did a Rafa jersey collection, and you can turn it into swag. People, maybe the best artists or the most sold get swag, and we can sell swag and make it easy for others to turn that, or local artists to make it easy for them. So anyway, that's Rafa did something with Aho Snitsku, and they made special jerseys. Look at these jerseys, are so cool. Oh, there's on eBay. That's cool. So yeah, you guys with me so far? So yeah, I think that's I don't know if that gives you a good enough flavor for now. Luis, I know that you've been following a lot of my thoughts and stuff for a while. Is there anything that you think I should be focusing on in this conversation that I should be mentioning that would be of interest?
I mean, obviously, you go for the macro level and you expand on a lot of different topics. I think the main topic here being Save Miami, right? And the main problem that we know is rising sees, and how we also know there's also like it creates a social division in the community. So there's many things we could mention or talk about, but I think when it comes to understanding that, you know, even scientists are saying that if sea level rises like 6 inches by 2030, you know, some people are like infrastructure planning and stuff are bracing for like 2 feet of water. So we have to think, you know, I guess we have to think in terms how to actually show people kind of in this digital twin, or immerse people in the idea that, you know, kind of maybe show them what sea level rise looks like, and how it actually affects, or the changes that's happening, right? And for example, if sea level rises just 2 feet, how, you know, septic tanks won't work because how they're structured. So, you know, I think there's around 100,000 septic tanks, you know, and how there's actually not only septic tanks, but housing overall, you know, people have most of their investments saved in housing, right? So we're already seeing when a storm surge happens, you know, people, especially in Miami Beach, they have this problem where they have $1 million house or two, or, you know, or upwards. And what happens is that they literally have to wait for the water to come out, and then they have to go and repair their houses and kind of go through this process where they have to like take out, do certain procedures so the housing doesn't get mold. So they have to call the molding company to do a certain process in the housing. This is just to keep their houses. So we have to actually see what's happening where, you know, the sea level rise is going to cause more people to kind of move or be moved out of their location, because you know, developers and other people are going to keep raising rent prices. And then where's the higher ground, right? So people are always thinking, where's the higher ground? We've seen some situations in Little Haiti, right, where, you know, they're kind of asking the community like, hey, when are you going to move? And we've seen the gentrification aspect of some of these installations in the neighborhoods, you know, where it's affecting. So we know like major issues in Miami is affordable housing, definitely gentrification. So, you know, when we see that like the median, you know, non-Latin white households, their medium net worth is around like 100,000, right? And the closest group to that is like the Cuban households with a median wealth of like 22,000. You know, there's a great disparity between you know, the low income and minority communities, definitely that are really affected, especially by climate change and sea level rise. So we have seen, we are seeing now, you know, we saw with Miami Beach that they have spent over like $400 million, you know, installing with the installation of pumps and stuff. But we also have to analyze how much, you know, potentially could be underwater in by 2030 or 2050. So, you know, some estimates, you know, that I've seen before say that 15 billion to 23 billion could be underwater by 2050, you know. So I guess long term, you know, it's worth actually, you know, buying a home in Miami, you know, for the price you're buying. If in 40 years or 50 years, you know, you're buying your home now, you're young and you're looking to retire, but your house potentially could be under seawater. Um, so that's one of the things that people are taking into account. You know, we've seen a lot of movement currently. You know, the mayor Daniela, she tackled affordable housing. She called it a crisis. So, you know, affordable housing units are in development. Also, we saw the Army Corps. They proposed spending with a 4.6 billion plan to secure Miami from storm surge. So we have to see how there's different adaptations to it's a best to keep on building and buying, building higher walls when water comes from underneath, since we're built on limestone, or we also have to implement the natural assets, like have more corals. One major statistic is that 90% of corals have died off because of the hurricanes throughout the years have really affected the coastal marine life. And we know that, corals are like the foundations and basis for a lot of marine life. So we need more resources currently to actually fund and invest into these areas. It affects, I guess everybody wants to have or understand, with the different sensors, water sensors or quality sensors, to have more metrics. But if we don't do much, or by the time we have all the metrics in place, it'll be too late, because it's something that has been going on for years that needs to be, that is a major problem that, when it really rains, you could see, people in Brickell can't get out their buildings, because it's like it's literally like it's just flooded with water. So we're well aware of the problems. Is we need to move more investment into our city, into our natural assets, mangroves, corals, definitely. Also, overall, you mentioned the climate accounting from top to bottom. So it starts from federal, state and local. We already have the support with the new the Inflation Reduction Act, which is more climate related. And what I'm seeing is that once you have that support from top to bottom, it's easier to implement solutions. Then but you also have to think global, act local. So definitely everybody as well has to put on their part of conservation, using less water, using less plastic, and not using plastic, or try to use as minimum plastic. And also how this has affected the rising temperatures have affected animals. For example, turtles. Once you start raising the temperature, so female turtles are actually born more than male turtles when you raise the temperatures of the sea. So what's going on is that more female turtles are being born, but now no male turtles are being born. Kind of the numbers are going down. And these are just small few changes, just 1.5 degrees changes. It's a lot to change around the ecosystem. We could look at what scientists are saying of the melting ice caps in the Arctic, and how that translate to the sea level rise around the world, and how the currents are changing. So yeah, I think it's a global problem, but we also have to act try to put our best effort to help out the community think locally and implement solutions and as much action towards this, because it at the end of the day, and like in coastal areas or third world countries, right? If there's no fishes in the area and local fishermen can get a fish or catch a fish, then there's no local economy. So some of these initiatives bring tourism. So once they're implemented in the right ways, it creates jobs by harvesting the right resources and the right people and skills for a good cause in the long term. Because if we think short term, we just keep cutting trees, like in many parts of the world. We could look at the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico and see how much trees have been cut down there, and how much Mexico exports, and different other areas that, in the United Nations. Also, a major topic has been from Colombia's perspective about the Amazon rainforest, which it is a major lungs to the planet Earth, to Gaia. those things have to be protected. Those natural resources, it's a must to protect those resources, because if we just keep cutting down every tree and catching every fish, at some point, yes, you could potentially profit and have a lot of money, but at some point those things are deflated. They're gone. The resources, they're not unlimited. So I just think it's important. I love this topic. I'm passionate. That's why I could go on for hours and touch base with a lot of this different things that have been going on throughout the years. And yes, I think we need more people that are conscious and aware of these topics. Join more of these conversations. Try to make a change, in their local, and then seeing how to connect this to the more global perspective. Obviously, like you mentioned, the global accounting, it will take some time for that to develop, but I think the leaders are all on board that this is a must. So I think everybody should just be aware and try to add their 2 cents, even if it's just like by making sure they recycle their water bottles.
Yeah, awesome, Louis. I think that's I think all really important. Yeah, I know that lots to be discussed on these examples, and lots to be shared. And that's why we need to make it fun and engaging. I mean, you touch on a lot of different important points. I want to get to one of them here, which is this sort of climate portal, which is part of this game, and where we need to get out in terms of knowledge base. Is this climate finance, right? And creation of climate finance. Right now, the goal is to just create this climate system and work at a local level, right? Which is here at this level right here, as local actors, to go ahead and start to verify and work together to collect and verify and report and validate the different ecosystem assets that exist today, right? Around the community. So I think that we can produce, with the outcome of this project, we can produce revenue, right? Just by being able to make this climate accounting, and then hopefully work as a foundation to be a steward that we can create the revenue, and then create asset-backed ways to protect those revenues and reinvest those revenues in a way that continue to be in the spirit of why we're doing this work to begin with, which is regeneration and resilience. Ultimately, building these climate assets and helping the whole county and city and governments and everybody get their net zero footprint, and then ultimately gamify what they're doing. And if we can save ourselves, then I think we can save a lot of others, right? Not just ourselves. So that's kind of what that looks like here. And that initiative for open climate is part of the global stocktake challenge, right? Which is like, how do we open up climate issues to highlight the importance of global stocktake. And this is one of the white papers that sort of supports that initiative, with the open on the concept of open climate and the problem statements that might be needed, right, for us to say, hey, this is where we're at as a planet, and maybe what we can be doing with our carbon budget by connecting the carbon budget. And this is, by the way, a lot of this is already like law, right? Like banks, financial institutions, corporations, publicly traded companies, they all have to report greenhouse gas emissions, and make them in a compliant way under what's called the Task Force for Financial Climate Disclosure, TCFD, and the climate action pledges that the world needs to take. But how do we prove that? So we build these diagrams to prove the climate pledges that people are doing, the budget, and then how do we figure out, the budget and reductions that we need, and ultimately with that information, create the financing vehicles that help us fund it, right? So this is a little bit geeking out on the science behind and what it looks like, right? To have the science behind open climate systems, open earth systems, where we're seeking to anchor for the Southeast, and then use gamification to onboard everybody else onto a collaborative platform to blockchain. So I'll take a pause on that there. And I think that kind of covers a lot of the main details here, the nonprofit information. I showed the website while Louis was speaking about the Logos Blue Economy Foundation. Oh, and then ultimately, right, the schedule for the SDGs was the other thing that I was showing. The SDG schedule for the year ahead, we want to do a drop every month that lines up with these SDGs, right? What are the SDGs? Well, the SDGs are these sustainable development goals. Oh my goodness, I'm getting the wheel. But the SDGs, hey, where are the SDGs? So the United Nations SDGs are all about, there you go, here it is, UN SDG Planner. There are 17 goals to save the planet. And so I think that we can do, right, based on what's happening, both national holidays, etc., right? No poverty, world economic situation, prospects, global goals week. So this is a major calendar of what's happening around the world and the goals of each month. So no poverty, good health, gender equality, Logos Capital, together with this digital impact bonds. I've been asked to join the board of advisors for the United Nations Women's Peace and Humanitarian Fund to use art NFTs to fund women in the front line of war, and how these women-led organizations that are trying to bring peace to war-torn areas, and that's what we want to announce, basically, this Art Basel, and looking for just a few windows or openings that let us sort of get the word out, ideally with our friends here in Miami that care about these things too. These are the main dates, if you guys are interested. A lot of the work I think that I want to be focusing on besides smart cities is SDG 14, life underwater, particularly a lot of campaigns around Biscayne Bay NFT, a mangrove drop NFT, more corals, more blue economy stuff, because Florida is almost, we're almost an island, we're a peninsula, by the way, right? So this is what that calendar of events look like. So I'll take a pause there, and I know that this was one of the things that we wanted to talk about coming up to Art Basel, Doug. So this is kind of your cue here to jump in.
Yep, absolutely. So in addition to what Paul is doing with Art Tech in the metaverse, I have about 5 or 6 live activations with our ecosystem with Big Basil, some with the Basil House, some with a lot of different prevalent locations within the city. And so I think the Save Miami initiative, especially when I first got down here, it's kind of, I'm happy you mentioned that, Silvio, because when I first got down here, that was really big to me to go to Wynwood and to see that art week every first to second Saturday. That was that because I was working at the time at Shikani's restaurant. And it was only when I was there, I got here like 2011, and it was only Wood and Shikani. And Shikani was an artist. He would draw his food, Michael Shikani. And so he's one of my mentors. And so he really showed me how to appreciate fine art because of his education. But he he would draw out all his dishes, and then we would have to execute that. So with that being said, that whole experience about Miami was something that was, it meant a lot, especially when you were part of that Art Basel at the time, especially going to the Moore building when the Moore building was the Moore building, and all these different activations, and everything wasn't like as commercial as it is now. So with that being said, I definitely want to, now that I got a little bit more context with this, who's all involved, what's been talked about, what's been said. Another thing too, just a little bit about me in 2019, along with Pangea. She was one of the producers of the fashion show. We did a sustainable fashion show in Miami Design District, and it was really huge. And so there's this big network, this big ecosystem that we have, and that's how I kind of met Scarlett, and I met Jorge, I met Mo, I met Luis before that. But my point of saying that is to say this, that now that this has kind of come full circle with, with Paul being on here, and I work with Paul, exclusively for like recently, and working with Silvio, and I just came back from New York with the International Day of Peace. I know that we can really get the word out to a lot of different audiences really quick about the Save Miami project, but also just what we're doing with the SDG, just what we're doing with the reefs. just what we're doing in general. So I just think that it'll be just simple pop-ups, plugins. There's a few VIP nights. We can be stationed at a few different places. There's a yacht involved. There's a mansion involved. There's locations involved. I just need to know who, what, when, why, and how we're gonna do it. And it's pretty much done. Financially, what does that look like to get involved with that? I would have to get back to some of the other people, but some of the activations I'm personally involved in, there will be something that we can definitely curve that. But this is a very important initiative, not only because of what's happening, up until 2030, but it's just a way of life in South Florida. And, it's something that, even with the balloons and when I saw that, I don't know if you guys saw that on Instagram or on the news when the people had a party and threw the balloons in the ocean, just how important people really, this is to it's important, right? And so I think to have this much intelligence behind it that you guys are bringing to the table, it saves a lot of people from having to do the work that you've already done, but it's also a lot of people will put their money where their mouth is and put their support where their time allows. So yeah, I just need, I think a program, or if you want me to do the program, or I just need something to know how we're going to program this. And I'm all in to make sure that we can get this out to as many of the activations that I'm involved with as well.
Epic. Thank you so much, Doug. I mean, I think that in the end, that's going to be really critical. And it can be very simple at the same time, right? Maybe just thinking about what that looks like, right? How should we just put up a screen, a couple of monitors that just sort of like put a video on replay and another one with a QR code, or I don't know, but we got to think about a way to onboard or maybe start onboarding the community somehow, right? I don't know if it's Discord or if it's like a newsletter or somewhere that people can just sign up on the Save Miami campaign. Maybe somebody can just sign up for the newsletter and be invited to the next sort of gathering of artists and stuff.
I think that's an option too. But like I said, if so I get some of the literature, graphics, like a flyer, graphics, I can pretty much take a flyer and run with it and make it happen. I would just need a flyer, the logos of everybody involved, so everybody can know who to contact, some information, and just start like a simple, like we talked about, a simple pop-up for now since it's 2 weeks away. Get some music artists as well to kind of, to have the same message for, the planet and the earth, which I do know a few of them. Do some like you guys already got the NFT, the metaverse involved. It's great. Having some type of inside of the metaverse, inside of the actual location, working with the liquor brands and the sponsors, other sponsors, the nature sponsors, all the sponsors that we would have them on site to use their reach as well. Oh, but this could be set up very easy right now is what I'm saying, because there's a lot of motion, there's a lot of moving parts right now going on. And I definitely see that a lot of people are behind this cause more than you would think, you know what I mean? So we can really get this moving really quick. So like, I think the next step for me is just getting some type of a digital asset. Then we create our Eventbrite, like you said, Silvio, and then going from those typical things created in those type of very minute, very simple, because we don't want to overdo it, because then after just seeing things that it gets, you guys have already been putting 10 years of work in it, so we want to make it a slow release if we're going to release it in the 2 weeks, because you don't want to rush something that you put so much time in. You want to kind of give it that, in my opinion, you want to give it the respect. The same way you put you guys' time in, you want to make sure that people are not missing any cues. So I would never want to rush this project out, but I think just with a Save Miami, Save the Date, come and show your support for the mangroves and what you talk about, the cleanup of the bottles, the plastic bottles. Everybody bring an entrance fee. An entrance fee can be a plastic bottle, something of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Something fun like that. That's something we can think about on that aspect, but keep it simple at this point, because the message is very powerful and we want to make sure that we get the message across. That's my opinion.
I agree. Thanks, Doug. And I have a tendency to make things more complicated because things are so complex. So yeah, I want to just.
It's not only you. It's not only you. Trust me, brother. It's not only you.
So I think that keeping it very simple is an important thing to continue to echo
Initiative.
continuously. Yeah. Good. Well, I think that kind of covers all the ground of all the major pieces. Miami Club, Spirit of Miami. Am I missing something? Anybody else want to chime in on anything? Okay. I guess that's hopefully answers most questions. One of the owners, my mentor at Miami Club, just sent me called me during this call. So I told him I'd call him back, and I'm gonna see if we can get a gathering together and do a cocktail night. Invite the Cortada Foundation as the Miami-Dade Artists in Residence, the people of the Miami-Dade County Arts and Cultural Affairs Board, and the FIU Artists in Residence, and other local artists I want to contribute to this, to make a toast to them and to saving Miami. So that's next, and I'm gonna make the next call for that. And then Doug, if you can help me figure out a way to spear whatever materials you need, so that we can get this off the ground, that'd be great. And I just wanted to sort of lay as many things that are on the top of my mind on the table for everybody to take and run with, or help me figure out what I might be missing, or what I might be overseeing, or understating or overstating, or whatever. Still open. I guess we'll keep this live. People will comment, I guess, on YouTube. This is all there live. I guess there's no other way to maybe be more transparent. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. Thanks so much in advance for just showing up and for caring about Miami and all the things we got to get done to take things to the next level.
Thank you, Silvio.
Thanks, Doug. So when let's do a Save Miami, Save the Date. Do you have some ideas on some dates we should be aiming for? It's, I guess, the next couple of weeks to maybe the first few days of December.
Yeah, and especially there's not a lot of activations happening on that Monday, that Tuesday. Everything's starting to pop off that 30th. Everybody's getting in town from what I'm seeing on the 30th, and then the 30th, the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. So, and then that 4th is so I was just say, save the day, save the week. You know what I mean?
I think that's more appropriate, right? And there are 17 goals, so there's just so much to share.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Save the date, save the week. I think sounds more fitting to the ambitiousness that's needed and the work that's needed, and the time that's needed to get this done. So it's cheeky comment. All right, thank you, man.
Yeah, man.
Anyone else? So I guess with that, thank you so much for attending the first advisory committee for the Save Miami campaign, and for your contribution and your guidance as part of the Wisdom Council here. So I look forward to holding myself accountable to all of you and checking in for the next update, hopefully within the next week or two, with some information and the landing page and everything else that's needed to